This is a live video. I always take off my glasses.
Why?
I don't know. Because, ooh, okay, all right, that's close. Hey, everyone. Yes. Hi, Nori. This is
JP.
husband.
What's happening?
This is husband Gerard with
Comments
us
will appear here.
Yeah, comments will appear here, and we'll see
Live.
over there.
Nobody's here yet. It's just us hanging out.
This is us hanging out, but we will probably get started. So
All
today, this is a very cool video because it's the beginning of this series I wanted to do called Willingness versus Readiness, where I explore, or where we explore together, you and I, and babe, you know, all of us. We're going to talk about why it is, what's the role of willingness in our growth. And particularly in today's video, we're going to focus on why being willing is more important than being ready. So we're giving folks another second to join us in, but we're just gonna kind of get the conversation going right now. We're back. You hungry?
Apparently. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear my stomach?
Oh, his stomach is mad
Stomach
loud.
is mad loud. I
And
haven't
you
had
just
dinner.
ate?
No, I didn't. I had lunch. I had lunch like an hour ago.
Oh,
so now
okay.
it's dinner time.
Okay, hi. We can't see who it is,
Yeah.
but all right, this is gonna share a live video with everyone. I can't see nothing on this. I think I tagged you in it. Add viewers to your broadcast. Requested in your broadcast. No? All right. So we're just gonna get going with this, right? In today's video, we're gonna be talking about being willing versus being ready. What do you think are people's current thoughts around?
But what is being willing?
What is being like?
What is being willing?
Okay, let's talk about that first. So, as I understand it, being willing is knowing that you still have work to do in the area, but being open to the idea of trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I might not be ready to run a triathlon or something like that, or ready to run for office, but I am willing to explore what it would look like for that. At least that's how I understand it. How do you understand it?
For me, when I think about willing versus ready, right?
Yes.
Willingness to do something versus being ready has to depend on the amount of information that we have about a subject. Anytime that we do something new or something new is introduced for us, we have a level of comfort with that idea or doing something. So, for example, going running, you know, you may think, well, I want to become a runner. I want to get better at running. And I know I don't know everything I need to know, but I'm willing to get started now without having everything. So say you need shorts, you need new shoes, you need all this athletic gear. You're like, you know what? I actually have shoes I can use right now, so I'm willing to get started before I go get all the rest of that type of stuff. So that's what that kind of means to me.
I love it. If you're just joining us, thank you for joining our live.
Hey.
Today we are talking about being willing versus being ready. Particularly, we're focused on why being willing is more important than being ready. So we just talked a little bit about the explanations between willingness and readiness. What do you think people think? Like, how do you think people actually feel about these words, about willingness and readiness? Do you think that they have a relationship with the word willingness, or are we more focused on ready?
I think people are definitely more focused on ready. So a lot of times in my work, and I talk to people about getting started in their business, you know, they say, you know, I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't feel like I'm at a level where I can jump into this and start producing for my business, start actually going and talking to clients. They say, oh, there's so many other things I need to do before I start going and jumping in. And that's when I'm on the phone trying to, you know, let them know that, hey, you already have the willingness, you know, as long as you're willing to learn throughout the journey. You don't have to be quote unquote ready, because in the end, no one's ever really ready. What is ready? It's kind of getting to the state of having more information, and there's always going to be information left out that you don't know. And, you know, you have to be willing to take actions so then you can be ready to receive down the line.
And, you know, it's interesting you talk about it in that way, because when I think about ready, I think there's like a ready culture where people, you know, people say like, you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready, you whatever the saying is. And
For sure.
I don't think people like when I understand ready, it means that I feel fully prepared. I have all the information I need that I wanted to have. And I just feel like this is going to go down exactly how I need it to go down. And there will be nothing that's going to go different than my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think
Right.
about being ready, I think about ready in that way where it's kind of like everything is perfect. I don't know if I've ever gotten to the point in my life where I feel like everything, hey, thank you for joining us. I don't think I've ever gotten to a point in my life where I felt like everything was going perfect. There have been situations where I felt more prepared than others, but I can't really say that I've been like, oh, I'm ready. I'm like in the traditional context of what I understand ready to be. And I think that's why it could be kind of damaging, because when you think about healing for yourself or in your business, if you feel like, oh, I'm not ready to do this yet, you might not see any progress because you're waiting for
Right.
a signal to be ready to do whatever you need to do. And if you guys have any questions around willingness and readiness, please drop them in the comments below. We know they're going to show up here somewhere, so we'll be looking for them. Hey, Miranda, thank you for joining us. Hey, I did tag you, no? Okay, you're tagged now.
Hey, how y'all know I'm in this video, Facebook?
They're watching your face. So in today's video, we're talking about willingness versus readiness. And if you have questions around that, please drop them in the comments below. Now, I would say that like one thing I noticed about being willing, it's a lot of people don't know what it feels like to be willing. How do you know that you feel willing? Like, what is it? Like, how do you know that?
For me, willingness, I have to cut down on my resistance for me to open up and be more willing to do things. So, for example, and I would say one thing that helps that is I would say more information, but that that's the part of getting ready. So, being able to or getting in the mindset that I can take steps without that information. So, trying it with, for example, I used to be a picky eater. I probably still am a picky eater, but I do eat more things than I used to because I'm willing now to try things. I may not be ready. There may be something on my plate. I'm like, nah, I don't think that. But I'm willing to at least, try it. And I think a lot of it just comes down to the fear, of failure. It's like I'm willing to learn, but the thought of actually failing in the future is a lot to handle. So in theory, I'm willing, but I'm not ready to make those steps.
Right. So we recently had an experience where you looking to get more in touch with your feelings, and let's talk about that. Why did you need to get in touch with your feelings? Why were you not in touch with your feelings? What's
My
going
feelings
on?
were behind a wall. Like I had put them. I literally took my feelings, and this had to be around below the ages of 7 to 5, so somewhere around that time. Took my feelings and put them in a closet in this house. I'm trying to think of the name of this street that we lived on, but I don't remember. I think it was Eldridge, maybe. But I literally have this vision of myself as a child putting my emotions into that closet, and now working with more people, learning more about not only just my feelings, but learning about other people's feelings as well, and learning how to relate better to people, and learning more about the types of communication, not just verbal, because I'm a very, one of the phrases I always used to say is, say what you mean and mean what you say. When in reality, that's only a very small portion of the communications that we as humans have with each other. Some of it's verbal, some of it's nonverbal, and I've also learned that I'm a feeler. So that's another reason why it's important for me, and I'm going back to get in touch with these emotions, because I've learned that for me to really be behind something and for me to give something, I have to feel right. So a good example is that it's been past relationships. Marion, my boo here, like when I initially met her, when we hang out, I used to get a feeling like there, and I didn't get that feeling with all the women I used to talk to. So,
What was that feeling you used to get? Like, how can you describe elements?
Feeling
of, that
of meshing, feeling of someone who is lighthearted, doesn't take things too seriously, likes to have fun. That person is open with themselves, they're willing to share and and be open with their life, and it's about them. Kind of just like upfront. There was no need to kind of build up to the now. Let's be honest with each other. It was kind of more up front, we were pretty honest, with each other.
So recently, it was like a few days ago. It feels like it was so long ago.
Like 2-3 days ago.
It was like 2 days ago.
Are we staying on the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There is an agenda. We're staying on. A few days ago, we had an experience where you and I, we had a space where you felt comfortable delving deeper into those emotions, in those, like opening the doors to that closet and beginning to allow those feelings to kind of exit the space so that we can discuss them and you can process them or whatever it is you need to do with them. How did you know you were willing to do that and not ready to do it at the same time?
Always knew, and we talked about this. So the one area that was probably weakest in my repertoire, business-wise, and which also comes back to people-wise, is sales and communicating to make people or get people to take some type of action and getting them to move from one point to another. I've always been a person where all the things in my life that I needed to do or accomplish only required me. So I can get myself to do pretty much anything. And getting other people to have that same motivation. I used to always ask people, why don't you just kind of do it? When, now I'm learning, and this goes back to the sales piece where there's a whole side of human communication and emotion that's back in that closet, from my childhood that I need to go back and get. So that's how we got into the conversation that we had a couple days ago. And I always knew that a time would come where I would need to address this. So it wasn't for me, I was always willing to do it, but the time. So it was probably the time that made me more willing. Once again, more information about where I was at in my life and was this going to be important for what I needed to do. And before, like I said, it wasn't as important, so I didn't need to focus on that. Worked at a nonprofit before we started our businesses and went there to address some of these things. And that place actually started to bring out a lot of some of that and got me more on the path of thinking about how do my emotions, how do other people's emotions have an effect on the work that we do and how we work with each other.
So if you're just joining us, welcome to today's live.
Hey.
Hi. JP and I are having just a kind of conversation around what it's like to, why being willing is more important than being ready. A lot of us are subscribed to this kind of ready culture where you always got to be ready. I don't know how you're going to be ready for something that you never experienced before. So there are all these misconceptions around readiness. And we want to take some time to chat with y'all around how we're working through some of that and how we came to some of these lessons. And this is the first part of a series of videos we're going to be doing around willingness versus readiness. And JP's talking about his experience emotionally. Who's calling me? I feel like somebody's calling me.
Don't worry about it.
Doesn't matter. I don't know what's going on. So we're doing some videos to talk about that. And in today's video, he was sharing his experience with being willing to open up more about his feelings. That's a place where he consciously took a step back and was like, I'm not going to do this yet. But recently, as far as like as little as the last 3 days, we've had a conversation around this and kind of began peeling the layers of the emotional layers, to call them such.
And I really didn't know what that meant to kind of go back, peel back some of those layers. So I'm very like detailed, step oriented. So I want to learn. I'm willing to learn. I just don't know. I think a lot of times that's also what kind of holds some of that. We just don't know what are the steps to take, and it just seems so daunting. Luckily for me, I have someone who specializes in working with people to go through those steps. But it's not always that simple, and it's still not that simple. I actually, when I ask her to help me with these things, she doesn't know how to react So I'm willing to do it, but my face says I'm not ready.
Yes.
My face says I don't want to process this information. I don't want to hear it. Like, I know everything, but I know that I don't know everything. But at the same time, I'm human and I want to know everything. So I show that I'm willing because I'm asking questions, but the energy that I put off and my face says, nah, he's not ready.
and I'm so glad you brought that point up, because willingness is more about being open to doing what you don't want to do. And readiness is the idea that you want to do it and you're open to do it in that moment. You think you could get it. You feel prepared. I think readiness has more components. Like, you want to do it, you feel like you're prepared to do it, and you have to take care of these things too. While willingness is just, knowing that you need to get it done, and knowing that even if you don't want to do it, you are okay with trying. So you bypass some of those other steps because you're not worried about checking each box. You're just like, I'm gonna check whichever box I can check, and I'm gonna go with that one. And I think that's why willingness is so powerful, because you might have not been ready to face those feelings, but in your willingness to explore those feelings, you allow yourself an opportunity to like get the benefits of doing that work and experiencing those feelings. And I think that's really, really important, because a lot of us, whether you are a business owner, so if you're watching this, you might be asking yourself, how does this help me? How does this support what I'm trying to do? Whether you are looking to heal in your emotional journey, or whether you are launching a business, or even with your family, whatever it is that you're doing in your life, there are things, I can guarantee you, there are things in your life right now that you haven't accomplished or you haven't tried because you feel like you're not ready. And these things can be the deciding factor between getting the life that you want and staying in a life that doesn't make you happy, that you don't feel at peace with. And a lot of us are waiting to be ready so that we can live the life of our dreams. Meanwhile, the people that are willing to live the life of their dreams, even if they're not ready, are actually out there living the life of their dreams. And I think a lot of us marry ourselves to this idea of what the life of our dreams might look like. I know that's something that I did. And while right now I am living,
I'm still tied to it. I'm tied to it. I'm trying to release it.
Right now, if you're joining us, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about why being ready is more important than why being willing is more important than being ready. And because a lot of us marry ourselves to the idea of readiness, we think, well, when I'm ready to do this, not only am I going to do it, I might get all these other things that I thought I was going to get too. And then you get out there and it doesn't show up like that. And next thing you know, you're finding yourself discouraged and you feel like, oh, if I would have been ready, I would have had more. But having more has nothing to do with readiness. It has to do with doing the work. Right now, we are at a stage in our journey as entrepreneurs that's different than what we thought it was going to look like. Let me tell you something. When I quit my job, the old job I had in DC, I thought I was going to bypass this stage. I was just going to go to the stage where I'm making millions of dollars. Like, I saw it in my head. Quits job today, makes millions of dollars tomorrow, lives in a yacht the next day.
Lives in the yacht the next day.
That's the way I saw the business end. When it comes to the personal end, I thought we're going to figure out what makes us happy. Immediately, we're going to know what our purpose is. We're going to live our purpose and be joyful forever. You know, and it hasn't always been that clear cut or that black and white. And I think a lot of us waiting for it to look like that. And that's why being ready hinders us, actually, because we don't ever get to that point where we feel like fully % ready. At least the trifecta combination rarely happens at once. So that's why that's a challenge. But we did want to leave y'all with some actionable things that you can take with
action,
you.
Action.
This is an action.
If you're ready.
If you're ready.
Nope. If you're willing.
If you're willing. If you're willing, we do have some things that you can take with you to help you achieve the things that you want to achieve, to help you achieve at least one thing this week that you've been postponing throughout your life, that you've been saying tomorrow. If you're willing to do that thing, if you're willing to experience the result of that thing, we got some things that you can take with you so you can put them to practice.
All right.
All right? So bad. Do you have anything? I can go first.
Go ahead.
All right. So if you are willing to take action on something that you've been procrastinating on, whether it's having a conversation with a loved one, whether it's taking time for yourself to like care for yourself and care for your healing, or whether it's launching a business, whatever it is you've been thinking about doing, the first thing that you really want to be mindful of, it's okay to get things wrong during the process. A lot of people, if you're anything like me, you think you're gonna go out there and you're gonna knock it out of the park, first try, home run, whatever it's called. That's what you're thinking is gonna happen. But as someone that's been out there, not quite how it goes down. Not exactly. So being open to the idea that it's not going to be perfect and it's not going to look any specific way. You have to go in being curious about what it's going to look like. Go in wondering what is it going to look like, not assuming what is it going to look like. And that's the power of being willing, because when you are willing, you can be curious about what's going to happen. You give yourself permission to try it out instead of just going out there and hoping that and expecting it to look a certain way and being disappointed when it doesn't look that way. So the first one I got for you is be open to the idea that it won't look the way you want it to look. And that, you have to get things wrong. That's how you learn. You learn by getting things wrong. The second thing I would say is to be okay with not liking how he feels. I think a lot of us are attached to the idea that we have to love every part of the process. Like,
it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable learning new things. It's anytime that we have to change our current state to move to a new level, to reach that next height, there's going to be some type of change. And we just don't like the change, because that means we have to actually put in some type of effort, and that means things are going to be different. And then outside of us being different, what is other people going to say about me changing? And that plays a huge part in it as well.
Absolutely. And so that's 2, right? So embracing discomfort, knowing that you're going to get things wrong. The third thing I have for you is really be actionable about what you're doing. Whatever it is you're doing, ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to help me move this? Don't be like, how can I get it perfect? What's everything I can do? Just like really start with one thing. Be like, what is the one thing I can do today to help this move? And even if it's not something that you really, really want to do, that you're excited about, but you know that it's going to help you get the result that you want, just pick one thing to do and do that thing. A lot of us get caught up because we think we got to do all these things. Like when it comes to going through the feelings, people feel like I gotta go through every single feeling at once, and that's just not sustainable. And it's also not true. You can choose at any moment.
There's probably a lot of emotions that you don't even know are there.
Exactly.
Like me, and then you have to go digging and find them. So once you find one, you're gonna probably find a bunch more there as well.
Right. So pick one thing and just commit to that one thing and see how it goes down after that. I think a lot of us get really caught up with wanting to do everything perfectly. I'm a big aesthetics person, so there are things that I really get really worked up about that are not as important. So being willing to release that and to tell myself, you know what, Nori, this didn't look how you wanted it to look, but it doesn't take away from the value that it's bringing to your life, and the lessons you can learn from it has been a really powerful lesson. So I wanted to make sure you guys walked away with some of that, because I think a lot of us, period, as we're going through this healing journey or just figuring out what we're here to do, what this thing is all about, we get really caught up sometimes on wanting to be ready because we think everybody else is ready. Especially if everybody is talking about being ready, so you just assume that everybody else is ready. Like you probably assume that we're ready. I don't know what we're ready for, but we ain't. Whatever readiness we're talking about, we're not that, but we are willing. We are willing to take action. We are willing to quit the jobs. We are willing to relocate. We are willing to make less money than we were making before. We are willing to change where we live and have roaches in our place. Like, we are willing. I
don't know about that one.
we are willing to do it because we're doing it. So if we weren't willing, we wouldn't be doing it. So we are willing to experience all of that, because on the other side, there's so much more value that we get out of our experience, and so much joy we get out of doing what we do and spending the life in the way that we live it. And a lot of us, I think we're boxing ourselves in because we want to be ready. And what if you never get that feeling? What if you never get that feeling of being ready to do something? Imagine how many years of your life you would have been waiting to get a feeling that kept you from living. And now that feeling never came, and you weren't able to do all these things you wanted to do. And now you're sitting on your deathbed wondering, like, damn, like I really didn't live, and that comes from that feeling of being ready. And a lot of us might not get that feeling. So those are the things I wanted to share with y'all. Be open to the idea that you're going to get things quote unquote wrong, or you're going to fail at certain things. You will. You've never done this thing. Like if you never picked up a racket before and you go out there and play against Serena Williams, you're getting washed. This is what's going to happen. She's just going to go and win. She's going to win really easily.
With one hand, one leg, she's going to still squash.
Yeah, she's getting watched. Like, it's just what's going to happen, because Serena has been playing tennis for decades, and you have it, and she has that backup behind her. So that doesn't mean that you can't get better, and that doesn't mean that you can't beat Serena one day. It just means that it won't be the first that you pick up the racket. And I think a lot of us want to go out there and make the all-star team as soon as we picked up a tool, and you got to put in your time. You got to get better. And I think willingness gives you permission to get better. And that's what we wanted to make this video today, and talk about willingness and commit to just do one thing, whatever it is, towards what your goal is. Pick one thing that you can do and do that. Pick one thing and do it. Just pick one thing and do it. Like whatever it is. One thing. Just pick one thing and start with that. And after you do that one thing, the next day pick another thing. Just one thing. Don't give yourself the pressure to check all the boxes. Just pick one thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. or a small thing. Just pick one thing, and then that'll be more progress than you not doing anything. So that's all I had for today. Did you have anything else, Pouncing, for the people?
No. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for stopping by. I'm committed to getting back to doing these things regularly. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about how to build your morning routine. A lot of us.
That video too?
Yeah, you can come and kick it.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about.
We're gonna talk about building our morning routines and how do you create the morning routine to maximize your life.
Yeah.
So more on that in the next
All right,
video.
guys.
Bye.
Stay willing.
Stay. I like that. Stay willing. Hashtag stay willing. If you got questions about willingness versus readiness, drop them in the comments below. I will see them after this video's been recorded, and I'll be able to answer them. Let us know if you want to see more of us together, more of us separate, whatever you want. Drop it in the comments.
I want to see more of us together.
Ooh, and canceled and out of order. See you guys next time.
Bye.